is really running the country in the past 4 years instead of the elected president? Okay, for speculation purposes and to check ourselves and check our thinking, we run things through artificial intelligence. We use Grok, GPT. We don't let them run. We come up with ideas and give it to them, see what it says, check it, and check our own thinking. Okay. We asked it to analyze every single claim, speculation, insider report, congressional hearing, everything. Then we asked it to speculate on how a deep state president would be set as a cutout. What would it take to run the country? And how would you keep it from the American public? What we wanted to find out was, how big of a group would this have to be? But it not only told us how, it also named each person as potential candidates for the entire operation. Again, this is speculation, so we're not condemning anybody or saying they did anything. But it said there were two groups of people within the White House that would be needed. And let me show you. I put it up on the chalkboard. The first group are who's making the decisions and the auto pin, okay? Who's running that. And this group, according to AI, was Jeff Zients, also Ron Klain, both Biden's chief of staff at one point. So the chief of staff had to be involved, according to AI. It was Annie Tomasini. She was the deputy chief of staff. Then Neera Tanden, she was next. She was a domestic policy advisor. And then our national security advisor, Jake Sullivan. Okay. Those are the people that would make the decisions for the president. So when you voted for when you voted for Joe Biden, what these people are saying, I'm not saying these people, but the people who did all this, what they were thinking, what they were saying is, well, you voted for me anyway. Do you even know those people? Okay. The second group that was compiled by AI was under managing optics and concealing Biden's limited role. So in other words, it couldn't just be this group. They also needed a second group. In non-AI language, it translates to who ran the cover-up. And this group consisted of Mike Donilon. He was a senior advisor to Jill Biden. Then you have Ashley Williams, Ashley Williams, another senior advisor. Steve Ricchetti, the counselor to the president, and Anthony Bernal. Okay. But this is just AI. This is just a speculation on who might have been involved if the goal was to install a cutout deep state figurehead in the White House. We see the roles that all of these people played, and that's what we asked. What roles would have to be involved? It went to Biden's administration. Now, does any of this check out? I mean, is there anything other than speculation? All the recent reporting that began about a month after Biden lost to Trump. Well, we took every single mea culpa claim from the mainstream media, the recent book by Jake Tapper and Thompson, a few random insiders who are operatives for the other side, not my side, but the left, and even recent interview requests by Biden aides, by James Comer. Does any of all of that information line up with any of this? Well, Congressman James Comer, who I had on the radio program, has vowed to get to the bottom of this, and he recently started this with a group of people he wants to talk to first. Who does he want to talk to? Neera Tanden, Annie Tomasini, Anthony Bernal, and Ashley Williams. Wow. Okay, that's 4 for 4 on that one. So Comer, there's 4 of the names out of 4 on the list. Okay. I also spoke to Lindy Lee. She, as well as a few others, but she was a Democratic insider, former campaign advisor for Kamala Harris. She was very angry, and she named 2 names. She named Jeff Zients, and Annie Tomasini. Okay. 2 for 2 with her. I don't have her down. 2 for 2. Next, I labeled this one as opposition media, like the New York Times. Okay. In January, the New York Times released an article revealing how Biden's inner circle effectively hid how bad he had become. They listed a few names. Look at the chalkboard. Mike Donilon, Steve Ricchetti, Annie Tomasini, and Anthony Bernal. Okay, I mean, sometimes Sometimes AI is a little bit spooky, but this is getting ridiculous. 4 out of 4. Next, non-opposition media like the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal came out with one of the more damning pieces back in December. It was stated that Biden was hardly even conversing with major cabinet members like Janet Yellen or Lloyd Austin. Instead, advisors were sitting in for the president during the cabinet meetings. Who were the advisors that the Wall Street Journal named? Mike Donilon, Steve Ricchetti, Ron Klain, Annie Tomasini, Jake Sullivan. So they got 5 out of 5. And lastly, the book by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. Now, they interviewed over 200 people who were close to the president. This is his inner circle and others. This is not anybody like me. I showed you earlier one of Biden's aides admitted that they had operated undemocratically. The book describes a situation where, as a Politburo, their words, not mine, Politburo, which is a Soviet cabal of elites at the very top that make all the decisions. This Politburo, as they called it, was in charge of the White House. And that signs of Biden's mental decline first appeared in 2019, as in before he became president. Now, the people in the book, the names that come up the most are, watch the chalkboard, Mike Donilon, Ron Klain, Steve Ricchetti, and Bruce Reed. Well, Bruce Reed was Biden's deputy chief of staff for policy and is new to these lists, but taken at a whole, that's 3 out of 4. I don't know. I mean, this chalkboard could be the entire operation, from the policy implementation to the cover-up of the first deep state president. It is an interesting list, but only that. It is an interesting list. We can't go off of AI. We can't go off of hearsay. We can't go off of anything. We need the DOJ, after the Congress has investigated, to then pick it up and investigate themselves with the FBI and then prosecute if there were crimes committed. Ron Klain had multiple visits at the White House with Alex Soros. We also know that Klain was the critical conduit between Biden and the radical progressive wing of Congress, like the Squad. People like Annie Tomasini were alleged to directly be involved in Biden's classified document scandal. Was she fired? No. She was part of the inner circle. She got promoted instead. And I'm sure not all of the people on this list were ideologues. Good old-fashioned greed was also part of the deep state presidency as well, or so we're told. Mike Donilon, who shows up on almost every single speculation, made $4 million on Biden's failed re-election campaign. Steve Ricchetti, another person named in nearly every one of these groups, had multiple family members employed inside the Biden administration. If any of this is true, if any of these unelected people were calling the shot in the president's name, then yes, whoopee, this does matter. And if you don't understand, how do you tie your own shoes? And good Lord, why do they let you on television?